On today's edition of The Front Row, we are downtown in the Lubbock Cultural District at the studios of Classical 105.7, and our special guest today is Brad Moran, who is the owner of Raymar Communications and Lubbock Public Media, and he's my boss, and it's my pleasure to have him on the show today. Brad, welcome to The Front Row.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Clint.
Absolutely. You come from a long line of distinguished broadcasters, and you have a history of broadcast yourself, radio and television. And 2 years ago, you had the idea to begin a nonprofit classical music station. So how did that happen?
Well, I didn't have the idea. Some people came to me 4 years ago and said, hey, could you help us figure out a solution? We're losing classical music in Lubbock, and we didn't have a solution at the time, but we came up with one a couple years later. And so here we are today, coming up on our second anniversary in a few months that we've been on the air with Classical 105.7.
It's different for you. You come from the commercial end of things. And lay us out for a little bit. What is the difference between a commercial broadcasting entity and nonprofit, non-commercial station?
Well, commercial operation is dependent upon advertising, and we have advertising salespeople that go out and call on businesses, and they use our audience to share the word about their business. And in a nonprofit situation, we ask people that enjoy the music to help us defray our costs in operating it. And we're a typical nonprofit. We get grants from different entities in Lubbock and even outside of Lubbock. And we have people that do some underwriting where they promote an event. If it's a nonprofit event, the Arts Festival was this past weekend, and we help the Arts Festival as much as we possibly can. We feel it's our mission to help the arts and the community, and they spend a little bit of money to help promote their operation, and that's beneficial to us in terms of underwriting. And then we also have this period of time where just 3 or 4 times a year we have a 10-day period where we ask our listeners to send in some shekels to help support our operation, either to pay our power bills or pay for some employees or pay for new equipment, that type of thing.
Right. We have all the same costs any other media organization would have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a method of how we pay for them.
We have to pay for music rights. We have to pay for the ability to take someone else's copyrighted music so that those composers are compensated for their work. And I would imagine somebody owns those composers that are long gone, owns their copyright, and that's kind of how that system works.
Yeah. And we're, as you said, in the middle of one of those fundraisers where on the air we're inviting people to go to our website, classical1057.org, and click on the red tab that says donate and make a tax-deductible donation to the station. That's an advantage, right?
It is. We're a 501c3, which makes your contributions to our organization tax-deductible and certified by the IRS for that. We're audited by an accounting firm. We submit our Form 990 to the IRS, and it gets published, and people can see what our expenses are and where our revenues come from, and we try to be transparent. And we also try to have this just 3 or 4 times a year where we're not beating everybody over the head with it. We just do it for a 10-day period. We ask people if they'd like to support us, and we're very appreciative of that.
And we still play all our shows. It's not people don't miss anything in order for the fundraising to take place, but we do say this is what we do, and we'd love for you to participate with a donation.
Exactly. We'd love to have new members of our organization. Right now we have a coffee mug that is a gift, free with purchase, or how do they say, gift with purchase or something. But what works well for us, and if it works well for our listeners, is if somebody wanted to give $25 a month, and put it on their credit card. Those kind of things work really well for us, and we help grow our base. And the more people that support us, the more we can do things that will help grow our audience. And we're working on some things this year to really grow our audience. And this is one of those things that will help us go that direction.
When people choose that option, they can wind up making a substantial pledge and pay it out in bits and pieces over the year, and it's not so difficult at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. We have, as we mentioned, studios. We have personnel. We also have this thing called a transmitter. And that's a necessary component for radio, and we're looking to do some upgrades there. Tell us about that.
Well, we're working this next year to put together a plan to be able to broadcast in high definition. And what that requires is we would have to put in a new transmitter. The new transmitter would generate the high definition signal. It would also allow us to increase our power and cover a bigger area, make a stronger digital signal and a higher quality signal.
And I think there's some also additional electronica that can go with that for people who have late model edition cars. It's a little easier for that. Yeah.
Sure. So, I'm driving a car that's a couple years old, and it has an HD radio feature in it, and it will display the composer and the artist, the orchestra that is song title and artist, what we call it in regular radio land, and we want to put those features and transmit those features with a new transmitter, and that's something we'll be working on over the course of the next year.
Right. That's great. Something else that we're looking at to expand are some of our local programs. We, of course, have the basis of classical music, but we're also interested in furthering the arts in a more broad type of way with arts programming. Describe some of those things and how they operate for us.
Well, we have some existing relationships with the Texas Tech CVPA, great relationship with them, and we try to support some 400 performances a year that they have over there. And then we also work very closely with the LSO, and we feel like it's our job to be an essential partner to the LSO so that they can grow and thrive and do well. And then we're also looking to expand that. We'd like to expand that with certain other arts organizations, and I know that you've been having some dialogue with the local public schools, and maybe take some of their performances and put them on the air and drive people to their performances. And so we're always looking for ways to expand our connection with different arts communities.
And that directly affects our programming because they're getting some airtime for their own shows. For instance, Clef Notes, as you mentioned, and they have a new CEO and president, Heather Hawker, and you have a nice relationship with her, and she's on the radio.
Yeah, it's great because people get a chance to see the different things in the Clef Notes program that Heather's working on, that they are all working on over at the LSO, and now with a change in direction there, that allows for new opportunities and new things.
That's right. VPA, that's the College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech. They have their show as well. And your friend Gordon Wilkerson approached us with an idea for a show that's really taken off. Tell us about that.
Well, this is one of the funnest shows I think that we have, and it's a 30-minute program. And Gordon Wilkerson has been talking to me for years about either a TV program or a radio program to highlight kind of an oral history from key people in Lubbock, and it kind of tells the history of a business that we may have known about for years, but we really don't know the backstory. And the most recent one I listened to, Sam Law told the story about Fields and Company and the tornado and the Dan Law Field at the Texas Tech baseball field, and it was just kind of fun to hear that story and the success that they had, and he did a great job of telling that story. But it's such an interesting history of Lubbock, and I don't find that available anywhere else. So I really enjoy that program, and hats off to Gordon for doing that, and he has been really focused on it for a long time. And he may have 25 different episodes that have been completed and are on the air. And all you have to do is download our station app, Classical 105.7 app at the App Store, and you can listen and pick and choose a story that you're interested in. He has had a tremendous amount of varied guests that have been on this show that really is kind of a who's who of the history of the Lubbock area. And the very first one he did that's probably been listened to the most is with James Odom, who was the first football coach of great success at Monterey for years and years.
Yeah. Great show, great thing for the community. That's what we do. You mentioned a moment ago, can't find it anywhere else. So we have classical music 24/7, all of these programs that deal with the art, culture, and history of our community, all on the radio. Thanks to you, Brad, for doing all that and making it possible for us to have this kind of station. And we are raising money, and we would love to hear from you, the folks listening, at classical1057.org. Just click on the red tab that says donate. Brad Moran, thank you so much for being our guest on the front row today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.